Hello ladies, gentlemen, and others, my name is Dan, the voice behind that Kaito Dan, and welcome to my review for RWBY Volume 9 Episode 10 of Solitude and Self, aka the finale of Volume 9. But before we get started, a few things to note. Firstly, make sure you have watched this episode first on Crunchyroll to support the show and the fantastic people behind it, plus avoid spoilers. Secondly, stay tuned for my spoiler-free and spoiler-heavy reviews for the new crossover movie with the Justice League. I'm currently waiting on my copy to arrive, and I have family visiting this week, so it might be pushed to the week after, but I will do videos for this, so look forward to this coming soon. Though a reaction is currently up in the air for further updates, please make sure you follow me on Twitter, as I'll keep everyone updated on there, plus all my other post-Volume 9 plans, which are very exciting. I can't wait to share. And finally, one last message to you all. Thank you all so much for continuing to support these reviews. It's been a stressful volume to work around, no lie, but you guys have always made it worth it, and also, please don't let this be in the hiatus now stop you from continuing the fight to push for the series to continue. We still need to make sure that the right people can hear the huge demand that is present for RWBY's story to be told fully. So, spread the word. Tell people you know to check RWBY out, drop positive posts on the series online, leave strong reviews on Crunchyroll and on Amazon for the film, and yeah, we want more of this wonderful world all the way to its deserved conclusion. And now for the last time this volume, the Fandom Spotlight, featuring comment highlights from the last review like Chris Cerosaurus, who shared their personal attachment to RWBY's deep conversation with the blacksmith, while more conversation praise was shared this time for Weiss thanks to StarCraft Squall. And then we cap it all off with Robert Mahadi wonderfully noting how goofed up the cat was in their rash actions, which I'm sure didn't come back to bite them in any way. But yeah, in what was basically part 1 of the volume finale, last episode saw the ground laid out for not just a hotly contested fight for survival with a nasty fused feline, we also have RWBY laying her heart bare as she looks towards a lost bond for perhaps the right answers she needs. Many were hoping this episode could not only make up for some of last episode's flaws, but of course end this remarkable volume on the best note possible. So we must ask, do I think they did that job well, or was this the final chapter and a better end for a great tale? For the last time this volume, let's talk about it. We open once more back in the past with Summer's story time coming to an end, and what turns out to indeed be her last night with her family before departing for her final mission, sorrowfully leaving behind her girls with an expression of hope that they remain the same people she loves very dearly, even if the worst comes to worst, that she's not here anymore to see them grow. She clearly fears this is the last time she'll see her loved ones, and this is cemented with her leaving behind her emblem, before then in the next shot being beautifully lit up in a small dim source of light. Her own home is swamped by the night's darkness, now representing her fears and sadness. A little bit of light then comes in Tai, curious that she's leaving so suddenly on another mission that he assumed is just from Ozpin. And I love that Summer first turns away from him, holding where her emblem would be, fearing that perhaps Tai would clue in on the truth for her actions, and that this isn't an Ozpin thing, it's something else. Her own plans to stop Salem, no doubt. But we do still see the two share some soft, charming interactions, nicely exploring, even in this brief moment, the positivity that she helped bring in Tai post-Raven leaving him, which just makes it all the more sad that her supposed death will end this way, with her lying and leaving things bittersweet for their parting. A painful decline in the future then for Tai that would be deeply affecting the whole family moving forward. And now after this, I reckon that Summer was gonna meet with RWBY, assuming she entered the memory after reaching out for her axe last episode in some weird timey magical meeting, but nope. Instead, Summer meets with a different surprising face. Raven frickin' Branwen. Someone we've not seen since Volume 5's finale, someone I never expected to see at all this volume, and someone I thought Summer would never speak to again after she left Tai, much less recruit, as part of her last mission. This shines a massive new light on so many things, but let's start first with Raven herself. Boy, does this help our understanding of her future self grow. She was directly involved in whatever happened to Summer's fate, certainly adding more to the already strong resentment that she had for Ozpin, but more importantly, it's all the more reason then why she's kept so distant from the fight, not just her family. Because even when she was involved, it meant she had to experience what Salem is capable of firsthand, and likely bore witness to Summer's end, adding guilt to the list of strong negative emotions alongside selfishness and fear. And yet, I do like, for as hypocritical as it is for her to ask Summer if she's alright leaving her family behind, she does come off as genuinely worried about Summer and what she's putting herself through. It's honestly kind of nice that she is willing to show this vulnerable concern and own admission that Summer is better at the family life than she is, when I'm so used to seeing Raven hide herself behind a stern nature devoid of anything that she would feel would show weakness. It's a welcome humanizing element to her that makes her more compelling to see, much like her last scene with Yang, which also gains new light because of this scene. There's a shoulder check that Summer gives, just like the one that Yang did, but now we know that this was the second time that Raven had to accept while she was locked into a fear to never be involved deeper in the fight against Salem. Both her old teammate and her daughter chose to keep fighting despite their own fears. Now I am very eager to see her finally do the same, hopefully in the future, and make up for the past even just a little bit. Maybe as a big victory moment for either RWBY or more likely Yang, and if they be able to inspire hope in even one so limited in it. Though not before Raven hopefully gives some more genuine truths about what really happened this night. And then there's Summer, who may be sweet, but she's far from soft, and it's great to see this side of her now that she's allowed to be on screen, not just talked about. Sure, she's desperate enough to ask for Raven's aid despite current tensions, but she's not above making it clear that this partnership isn't on good terms, and she's having none of her sass. A cool insight into both this previously vague part of the Team Stark dynamic in seeing Summer remaining the mature one despite Raven's brashness, and alongside the lying, how much Summer is willing to burden herself with anything that will help aid in a different cause for good. Gee, ain't that familiar? She holds herself well in a moment where, just a second ago, we saw that she had to shake off any visible concerns not to worry Tai. And as we're about to see, what this means for RWBY is quite significant. Because it turns out she saw all of this as a vision of sorts when reaching for the axe. And the truths inside have left RWBY perplexed. Not just that Summer lied about her mission and she worked in secrecy with Raven, but also that this was shown to her when she's looking for answers. Confusion then turning into frustration as she lashes out, pushing the axe's case over as it crumples to the floor with her onto her knees, dejected, and leading to this cool visual in the glass as well, befitting RWBY's current mental state. She had hoped that maybe her mum, the perfect idol that she has lived her life alongside with all the inspirations she read in stories, and maybe that could give her the clarity that she needs to learn in order to move forward. But now she reckons that this tree is telling RWBY to give up. There's no way she can find a burden-free life if even her own mother, whom she idolized and shaped much of her identity and ideals as a huntress and person had to struggle with tough pains and decisions that ultimately paved the way for her death. in that sense, Summer's not perfect, and after long believing she was, what else is RWBY left to think but assuming she must be someone totally different, if even being more like her mom isn't the answer? However, that's not the lesson that the blacksmith is prompting to her to think more on, and she does indeed do that, just as we saw what really is being taught to her. Meanwhile, someone else dealing with some emotional distress is Jaune, who wakes up from his fall last episode, and he's bathed in the smoke from the leaves, and we see him repeatedly glitch out of sorts between his current self and his younger self. And unlike the RWBY girls in their smoky therapy session, Jaune's encounter isn't with himself, it's with Alex, who we finally see in person, well, kinda, and we hear their voice, which is played by Shara Kirby, the voice behind Genshin Impact's Candice, Bea from Pokemon Masters, and Karen Asaka from the Love Live franchise. Alex is here to help guide Jaune forward, telling him that he never was the hero. Ouch. But clearly, by their tone and expression, this isn't meant to be an insult, and in fact she goes on to say perhaps now's the time that he must realize he should become not the man that he thought he should be, but the man that he always wanted to be. What this isn't quite clear, and when he reaches out to her, the hands glow signifying something, but he just falls out the smoke still the same. But I like this. Jaune doesn't know what he truly wants yet, and now we don't either, so we can be just as excited for what that could be as he is. There is one benefit to this moment though that is immediate, as when Jaune spots the ongoing fight from above with the girls and the cat, he returns to the fray by chopping down some leaves for them to burn and trap the cat in the smoke. It's the return of the tactical whiz Jaune, the lad's biggest strength next to his high aura and strong defensive skills, with his cunning and eye for strategy that's been lost ever since ending up in the Ever After. He instead focused solely on merely the fighting and protecting aspect in its base form, and this is something that again represents how broken and incomplete he has been. The most planning he did was just a schedule for the people pleasers. Here though, he's got that notable, forgotten trait of his back, and has taken an instant positive swing in his nature in the battle, no longer being driven by his emotions or recklessly putting his life on the line, and perhaps this is who he is meant to be. The leader, the game planner, the one who's capable of figuring out solutions, while someone like RWBY is the inspiration and others are the outright fighters. I wondered then if, come the end of Jaune's story, he might give up huntsman work and become a leadership role in some other way, like a headmaster or a general. That would be a good turn for the lad, keeping his protective nature active, but in his own way. Not just matching his family's legacy beat for beat, figuring that the huntsman life is the only way his life has worth. And he did really think this plan through well as well, because he not only thought about the benefits of the leaves that can turn the tide, he also counted on the cat's own hubris as they mockingly inhale the smoke, willingly so, since they can't be affected by it, resulting in some killer smug expressions as well. Thing is, it's not the cat that the smoke was for. It was for Neo, and after a wicked blink-and-you'll-miss-a detail where the smoke's effect taking immediate action causes the two souls to flash separately, the cat is tripping out big time. Neo's emotions, misery, and so much more is pummeling down on the cat's brain, unable to handle it as we see visuals of Neo's thoughts. Roman, her parents, Cinder, and RWBY all appear, who, by the way, nice detail there of having RWBY appear in the same clothes that she wore when Roman died. But yeah, this is a very clever move, and it's fitting payback given the trickery that the cat's been up to get a taste of their own medicine, somewhat with emotional damage. Sure enough, this is too much for them to bear, causing the cat to eject themselves from Neo, who scampers out of the smoke, understandably shaken up by the visions, much less being overtaken by a very bad cat. And said bad cat is now a big bad cat, looking like the Galar version of Incineroar with its mangy fur, giant frame, and hulking claws and limbs. So I guess this is Purius, the psychic normal type, at first, as in accursed, for the Cursed Cat's dark and psychic form, and now here we have Furiosity, the dark fighting type that swiftly takes control of this melee, even breaking Jaune's aura, which, not gonna lie, had me worried that this was setting up his death. Hope is looking lost as we also check back in on RWBY during the brawl, and the little lost Red is now running out of time. She must make a choice. She can either pick a life that will leave her burdens behind, or pick a life that can bear them. And she considers a few options, but she still remains lost. That is until a bright red light guides her alongside the words that she just heard Summer give her long ago. That she loves her just as she is. Maybe that's the answer. Not a new burden-free life or one that can bear them. Instead, how about who she is now? What if she reaches out to the light that is shown to be Crescent Rose and reclaim herself as she was, but this time willing to face everything painful this life of us has had to bear by choice? Well, as the blacksmith says, maybe that's enough. Maybe she is enough. And that's all RWBY needs to hear. She doesn't need to measure up to anyone else. She doesn't need to be perfect. She doesn't need to be anything but Ruby Rose. And the first way to show that acceptance of her own identity, burdens and all, is to take a hold of the symbol that she sees as the extension of herself. And what follows is a beautiful scene of RWBY falling down into a void, chasing after her weapon, as a familiar melody plays in the background, reaching for it as her wooden prison cracks outside, notably focusing around her eyes for a Silver Eyes blast to follow and rip through the battle, and shine our way to the return of Ruby Rose as she is, as she wishes to be, and as Jaune himself notes, as she always knew she was deep down. She just needed a little time to remember it herself. And okay, let's talk about this particular sequence here, because out of all the amazing visuals in this episode, which is a lot, it's honestly one of the densest chapters when it comes to eye-catching visuals, this right here is truly amazing. Fittingly, we have a huge callback here to the Red trailer, RWBY's first appearance ever as the reference point for her grand return. The flat but still vibrant colors of red, white and black perfectly draws your attention to the woman of the moment by bathing the scene in a trademark color scheme, while still harkening back to her origin with the similar wooded backdrop as well. The blinding light as well isn't just to make this visual reflection or add to the epicness. It also helps build to the reveal of RWBY remaining as she was by hiding her in this distant shot masked by bright light, until we then zoom in to this awesome pose with her wielding her scythe as only Ruby Rose can, to leave no doubt that this is indeed RWBY unchanged, even in Ascension. She still has her old look, she still has her memories, and really the only change is the return of her emblem. And though I honestly would have welcomed maybe a small change to this still perfect outcome, like a new hairstyle or maybe even a new emblem altogether, it does feel right that she is 100% as she was before arriving in the Ever After on the surface, putting instead all the attention on the changes that are made within. And lest we forget, what's a hero's return without the perfect choice of backing music? The Spanish guitar and classic opening 9 of Red Like Roses heralds in a new song dripped in classic RWBY energy, but with a fresher vibe, helping this moment truly feel not like RWBY remade, just RWBY refined. As Guide My Way, Red Like Roses Part 3 plays out for another highlight of this scene, RWBY totally dominating in some of her best scythe work in the series, much less some of the best post-Monty era stuff. It's fast, it's focused, there's some moves that feel echoed right out of stuff we've seen RWBY do before, like this twirling into a slice from behind move that she did in the trailer, and even a bit of Crow in this POV shot, where we see RWBY is totally in the zone. She's not scared or panicking, she's truly in her element. Heck, the only time that Curious does get the drop on her, she dashes free and pops them with a confident smirk and blast to the face. It's so damn cool, both as a fan for me of kick-ass RWBY action, and as the perfect showcase of RWBY's resolve being back by having her fight so smooth and with zero hesitation or second guessing. And the fun doesn't stop as this blends nicely into the rest of the team joining up for Team RWBY's first full fight together since arriving in the Ever After. Another showcase of the positives in RWBY's return now they're united once more. And while I would have liked to have seen more of Blake and Weiss landing some good hits like the rest of the team, it does help show that they are still back to being a cohesive unit once more. And the pacing is still so good. And shout out as well to Blake's Macho Man elbow drop entrance here, and Weiss setting up easily one of the top 3 best finishing moves in this series, creating this spear of gravity. Yes, gravity glyphs, not time dilation glyphs, you can see them turn black on contact, to allow the others to just go ham on the cat in a colourful fusion of a gender-swapped Sonic Heroes Team Blast and Persona 5 All-Out Attack before she joins in the rest of the team for this killer last hit that I'm sure is many people's new wallpaper or account header. Holy hell, that was awesome. What a full throttle beatdown that is so satisfying to watch, whether it be because of the visuals, the music, the fact that it's Team RWBY fighting as one, or just in the joy of seeing Curious get all they deserve for their torment and more. And not even the cat's weakened efforts after this to emotionally wound RWBY again has no effect, cause while they see humans as weak, confused and incomplete, her team sees none of that in her. And that's why they follow her. Words that RWBY takes to heart well, I'm sure, knowing that she still has their support even after their recent breakdown, and fearing for a while that she couldn't be that strong leader anymore for them. And lead she does as the others simply walk past the cat ready to go home. But just as Curious is ready for one last desperate attack, they get nabbed by some nasty Jabberwockers that Neo summoned, and, well, the cat gets crunched. Torn to shreds as well by the beast, not just now dead, but also being unable to ascend thanks to these demons devouring. It's kind of a sad way for them to go given what we eventually learn about them, but you can't deny that they do kinda deserve it, and you can't fault Neo for wanting payback. The feline schemes born from curiosity that drove them to want to go to Remnant nearly cost Neo her life, so why not return the favor? I guess in a way, curiosity killed the cat. Okay, look, I had to work that line in here somewhere, sue me! Nevertheless, the battle is over, and RWBY momentarily glances at a worn down Neo before joining the others in checking on Jaune, and they all receive a much needed warm embrace. It is sweet all around, especially Yang's teary eyes and gentle caressing of RWBY. And even Neo sees the warmth in this, desiring it herself, made all the clearer by Roman's presence once more. The need for people who love and value her has shaped Neo's whole life way back to her time as Trivia, much less her loss of Roman. And after her recent experiences, she can see where that desire has led her astray, becoming a want for revenge that's a hollow replacement for true happiness and acceptance. So it's time to pick up the pieces and see what she can make from it, starting with coming to terms with Roman's death. Neo finally lets that pain fade along with the visage of her old friend, and then just as the heroes wonder what they should do with her, she makes the choice herself, parting with a point, a smile, and a bow, before diving off into the tree's embrace, for she chooses the path of ascension. Out of all the outcomes on the table for Neo, well, I wanted for her to come back now, partly to keep around because she's always a ton of fun, and this would be the start of a possible anti-hero ally arc for her that would have definitely carried in some fun content there. I do think this is the right course of action for her story, and the character as a whole. I do think it is time to let her take a welcome break of focus, allowing others to get some screen time in her place, especially given the wide cast that is on course to return in the near future. But in terms of what Neo herself needs, I like the idea of her willingly choosing to step back and go through a healthy process that can best allow her all the time to reflect and have a certain friendly Smithy help guide their way, so Neo is able to find a way largely by her own responses, just like RWBY did. She would be hard-pressed to find any of that while also dealing with Vacuo and Salem stuff, so it is only logical then for her to make use of the Ever After while she still can. And with her being so close to the exit, no matter how she ends up, the door is literally still open for her to return to the main narrative whenever it suits her best, and works for a big return moment as well in the story. As for who she will be when she does ascend, I'm not sure. She could match RWBY and just come out the same, just with a new, renewed sense of understanding for herself and a willingness to move forward with her past experiences and pains as a positive inspiration, not a hindrance, or she might choose to adopt a new identity like someone we're about to meet soon enough, someone that has grown from her experiences and has a form that echoes it, maybe becoming a bit of Neo and a bit of Trivia. There's a lot of open space for where her journey can go, and that's good, because after all she's been through, it'll be nice for Neo to go from living for one thing to now being able to live for anything, so long as it's what she truly wants in life, and it's a path of her own making. The visual as well of her on the tree with the flowers acting as her umbrella is a very nice visual touch too, helping this truly feel like a positive direction for her, as sad as it is to see a fan favourite step out of the spotlight for a spell. And I do like how RWBY reacts as well. I mean, I doubt she's fully over what Neo put her through, but she'll for sure understand it was born from pain and loss that she can't help but wish Neo can heal from, as good-natured as RWBY is. Plus, I think they have now a bit of a mutual understanding now that will help act as Neo's attachment so she can return to Remnant, and maybe, who knows, she will return in a eventual next clash with Cinder, with Neo acting as a rescuer for RWBY rather than an attacker. And speaking of ascensions and RWBY, she brings up being sad that she didn't see Little during her own, as she wishes to say goodbye. And this causes the group to wonder if perhaps they did more harm than good in this place, like Alex. But thankfully, RWBY's belief that they hopefully did a little good comes literally true, as a somewhat familiar voice calls out to them. This delightful Redwall looking extra is now Little's ascended form, still voiced by Lucy Christian, just with a slightly deeper tone to suit their bigger, more anthropomorphic mouse body, complete with RWBY-esque cape. One of many reasons I'm sure that RWBY's bouncing all giddy like her old self would. She truly is back, but their After and friend no longer remembers them. And yet as sad as this is, it's still sweet to see remnants of their old bond in them in seeking the group out, and again that RWBY-styled cape. And this instead now opens the floor for this new self to gain a new name, with a little help from the gang who still see Little as a friend, a guide, a protector, and yes, a durable, all of which sounds somewhat fitting to the little one. In fact, they feel like they're somewhat of a lot of things, so they decide to take the name of Somewhat. To steal a line from Weiss, how very Afteran, but yet it is so perfect for the character. It warms my heart, and RWBY's as well, to see such a kind soul find such a happy and promising life to take forward now. It's the least they deserve after being there for RWBY as a guide and a friend, even if it came at the cost of their past life. Though sadly, it is time to go. The pair then share a tender hug, with someone also offering RWBY a comforting comment. "It will be alright, Huntress." While the Afteran can't completely recall this familiar person, like the cat once said, the heart never forgets. And for RWBY, this means the world to her right now, reaffirming to her that she is still a Huntress, even after all she went through recently, and more proof as well that she did indeed leave a lasting, positive impression on this world, even if someone may not remember truly. Thankfully, they won't be alone, and Jaune then asks someone if they can take care of Juniper. Another sad but tender parting, especially since it's thanks to Juniper that Jaune is still here, rescuing his life and being his longest truly supportive friend in this world. and now I am desperate to one day read the ever after adventures of Somewhat and Juniper. Tell me that's not a prime children's book in the making. Surprisingly though, no confirmation whether or not Juniper is indeed Alex Ascended, as a lot of us have come to speculate recently. It feels like either something we're totally wide of the mark with, or we're meant to pick up based on small clues across the volume. I guess a full rewatch will help decide that. But with that, all affairs have been handled, tears have definitely been shed, and as RWBY leads them one step forward again, everyone jumps through the door. But we're not quite home just yet. We got a little pit stop with one last ever after face, the blacksmith, who's interestingly carving some other inhabitants as wooden figures. Guess that finally answers some of the mystery behind them, because this surely means that they used to be the lively carpenter that Weiss mentioned briefly in the past, whom we never met. For whatever reason, they have since become a blacksmith, who's now pretty much the tree's proxy, aiding in the ascension process. And said blacksmith welcomes them all, especially Jaune, who they've been waiting a while to finally meet. But before they can get down to brass tacks, Jaune wants them to clarify the cat's claims on Alex and Lewis's fate, which they confirm to be true. Alex died of the cat's claws, and Lewis would go on to write Alex's adventures in the ever after as he wished it went, a tribute to the sister he lost. I do wonder if we'll learn more about Lewis in the future. I mean, I still think they are a former Osborn life, but they could also be someone who has keys to other facets of Remnant yet to explore, and maybe we'll learn about that during our time in Vacuo. But on the subject of truths and new information, the group spots two figures of the God Brothers, as seen in the Lost Fable. And it's here we learn some big details of their origins and, well, their true nature in a sense. For it turns out they weren't the creator of the Ever After like I speculated, they were instead the world's first inhabitants, and the new layers to these two keep on coming, as we get more lovely flashback art exploring how they were first created to help tame and grow the once wild lands of the Ever After into something more prosperous, capable of sustaining new wildlife, homes, and people that they created as part of this world's newfound cycle of creation and destruction, the early form of ascension. However, soon the pair's curiosity for new, ambitious creations led them to secretly making new beings meant to take over their roles while they observe. Firstly, the cat, which was meant to find the broken pieces in need of mending via the tree. And there was success here, which then followed up with the creation of the Jabberwocker, meant to destroy what needs to be broken down for new life to grow in its place. Except this creation was too good. Its only purpose was to destroy, and it lacked the steadiness of the gods, ruthlessly destroying without end, and this caused more damage not just to the balance of ascension, but to the brothers' own unity. The light god wanting to wipe out the Jabberwocker, while their brother didn't want its creation to take blame for their mistake, causing division amongst the pair. Well gee, that's funny, cause if I'm not mistaken, later in their life, this same god, with no real effort from their brother as well to stop them, decided the best course of action when dealing with the Immortal attacking them with a small army was to wipe out all of humanity when they're the ones who stoked Salem's anger in the first place, even before punishing her with immortality. As if it's not already made clear by this point, let me say it plain. The God Brothers are hypocrites. They never learn from their own mistakes, but expect humanity to be better? They would soon go on to abandon the cat for their own desires with no care of any drawbacks to this, but mock Salem for not learning how to value life when they gave her no support to learn this lesson? They would create a mindless, destructive beast, and then in the next world of their own making, would expand on that concept with creating the Grim? They are petulant, reckless hypocrites. And it was bad enough just by their actions in the Lost Fable that I felt this. Now we know they started out as basically the caretakers of the Ever After that grew too problematic for even an almighty god tree to handle, so they got shipped off into the great unknown to cause more trouble elsewhere. And they never got better. Sure, this doesn't absolve the tree of any blame for letting them go off and cause more trouble without any hindrances. That is a bit of a big L on their part too. But at least the tree is still doing some of their part to help the world and the people in it, not do whatever they please out of base, dangerous curiosity. I am genuinely growing a strong dislike for the God Brothers, and it's definitely intentional. We're meant to want to see these two return just to get some humbling from someone like RWBY, who could show them a thing or two about trying to actually invoke a united environment in the world and amongst the people in it without it acting as selfishly callous like these experiments of theirs. Just saying, it's fitting I'm also playing some Xenoblade 3 DLC right now, because we have got ourselves some classic JRPG dangerous deities who are long overdue being forced to see the error of their ways. This is the clearest sign yet that this story has to be leading up to the world showing these gods what true harmonic unity can be, which is quite a feat when trying to also deal as well with a dark witch wanting to aim to destroy the world and call the gods back so they really seal the deal in that divided element. Though perhaps the tree is anticipating the brothers' return for maybe their own ascension once they do indeed realize they are just as flawed as their creations. After all, the doorway has been left open for them and anyone else who would end up in the ever after in need of some good ways to learn the lessons that they need to grow and prosper from. At the very least, for all my heated emotions from this scene, the imagery in the sequence is very nice. No matter how striking it is to see two young goat-like magical beings grow into almighty hypocritical dragons, and I love the accompanying visual as well when the blacksmith talks about equilibrium and how balance comes from love and understanding, all while this montage is being shown via a magic stove slideshow. Even stuff this insightful has to be odd in the world of the ever after. And this is indeed insightful, because it helps drive home the message that one small act can leave a lasting impact, like the ones that the heroes have left on the ever after, or the impact that Alex unknowingly left on Curious before being killed. The girl in question brought up as well when Jaune notes that the blacksmith has her dagger, the symbol of the girl's one wish to fix what she broke, even in her passing. And in this case, one small act is here to help realign the fractured balance that is Jaune's heart. As after taking her dagger, Jaune soon lights up and we see Alex smiling, no doubt happy even in death that Jaune is able to reclaim what he lost, his time. The banana boy is back, yes, complete with the short hair and still cracking young adult voice, though said hairdo now sports a bit of old age streak, a physical sign that he is indeed keeping the memories, good and bad, of his Rusted Knight days, which is the outcome that I am the most happiest in seeing for Jaune. It's good that they didn't just wipe away his memories of being the Rusted Knight, as it would feel cheap to have everything that he went through and all his strength and understanding of accepting failure as part of growing and that he doesn't need to be perfect, all just vanish for him to become young again, when there's clearly merit to having him keeping the mental stability and renewed drive, as well as the still lingering feelings of pain and guilt in his past failures, and then have it all spark flames of inspiration to become their best self, with the relief that at least he now has his lost years back, so he has more time to make it happen. He's had a lasting effect on the world that he sought to protect, even if it was sometimes out of misguided hero escapism, not healing. So it's only fair that the world has a lasting effect still on him, only just in his heart, not how many birthday candles he needs. And with that, it's now finally time to return back to Remnant. Though it is notable when asked where the portal will take them, the heroes end up hearing the blacksmith clarify it's not where, it's when. More so when they are needed most. Looks like we got ourselves a time skip ahead, and after RWBY bids thanks to the blacksmith for all they've done to help, we see what indeed this time skip has brought as the group arrive in Vacuo, backed by a celebratory guitar solo version of This Will Be the Day, for the day they all arrive in the Desert Kingdom, currently housing people from all over Remnant. However long it's been since the group were last in Remnant, it's given people from Vale, Mistral, Atlas, and Menagerie to arrive in the last remaining stronghold for humanity, as noted by the various airships. Heck, even Amity Tower is here, somehow managing to return to the air after crashing last time we saw it. So that should hopefully mean that Pietro and Maria are still alive, and I'm sure they'll be one of many returning faces across the world that we will get to see in the future. By the way, this is probably a good time for you to start reading those E.C. Myers books, all I'm saying. This is the perfect backdrop for the hero's return. Yes, even though I myself was rather confident that we would end up at the Domain of Light, this is at least more meaningful on a symbolic level as one more example of a small act creating something massive. After assuming that their plans in Atlas were a total bust beyond just saving people, RWBY and the others are immediately comforted by the fact that they did indeed inspire people from across the world to come together and prepare for a united effort against Salem. This no doubt is a huge sigh of relief, a load off their shoulders, but the hard work has only just begun. It's good that people have arrived here in order to help, but this also means we've now got people from all four corners of the world and Menagerie too that has a lot of many years of kingdom conflict, racism, cultures clashing, and more that our heroes will now have to help mend if they are to have any hope of bringing balance to Remnant. Oh, and they might have to start by crashing their own funerals too. Now that's gonna make for one hell of a Volume 10 premiere episode. And this is indeed the last visual of Volume 9 that we see. There is no after credits scene, instead a new trailer for the Justice League crossover, which is a shame, but for a positive note to end this tale on after two largely negative outcome finales before this, it is best to cap off with this hopeful shot for the future. And on a business sense, we currently don't have Volume 10 greenlit just yet, so it's best not to tease anything at the moment, and instead use that after credits space for promotion. Still though, the wait for the return of Best Bun, it's still going on. Oh well. Oh, and yeah, the credits song, we can't forget about that, especially when it's this freaking good. Like, I had a hard time sharing my final thoughts in the reaction, because I kept being swept up in the emotion of The Edge, this synth-driven epic track acting as the perfect encapsulation of RWBY's fall and rise, for a victory song that sounds a lot like a Kingdom Hearts track, I won't lie, so much so I even made a mashup of it of a Kingdom Hearts 3 opening. But yeah, it is grand, it is emotional, I've listened to it multiple times since the episode, and it's honestly skyrocketed into strong contention for my top 3 credit songs, alongside Friend and the top dog that is Divide. A simply phenomenal track that helps solidify the high quality found in this chapter as a whole, cause good lord, this finale was something else. RWBY volume finales do tend to lend themselves well to plenty of thrills, big emotional moments, and more, but this felt like every one of those aspects got amped up to go bigger and better. I mean, right from the word go, we had some deeply moving and fascinating stuff with Summer that has sent shockwaves into the past and future scenes involving these fractured members of the Team Stark and their family. And from then on, it was like every portion had something special to hold aloft for all of us to savor, be it the gripping light and dark send-off for each of the remaining Ever After faces, the major lore bombs with the brothers escalating to that final conflict in the looming nature, and even the loftier levels of tension and excitement found in the simply amazing fight with the cat that housed many of the episode's best imagery, and that's saying a lot when this episode was packed to the brim with some fantastic visuals. And of course, we have RWBY finding her light and truly shining with a bittersweet farewell full of tenderness and fulfillment, and a kick-ass fight that was thematically meaningful as it was visually stunning. Again, a massive highlight of some of the best combat animation, camera work, and musical accompaniment that we've seen in this era, so massive props to all parties involved for what is definitely going to be one of the most iconic moments of this entire volume. And that said, I do have some issues I wanted to raise. Firstly, I do wish we got more from Jaune and Alex in the smoke. I would have liked to have heard more of the pair talk more about their past bond and what Jaune needs to hear, but also what we also need to hear ourselves to truly understand the bad side of Alex if we're to truly relish in her finally being able to do some good, even in death. I also would have liked Jaune maybe having a little bit more of a part to play in Curious's defeat beyond just getting Neo free, but at the same time I do admit that's a personal issue, and I do get the stronger appeal in seeing just Team RWBY overcome the Fiend in that long overdue moment of them back on the same page once again. Also, I think there was still more pains in Ruby's heart that I would have liked to have heard voiced before Crescent Rose showed up. Like how she never chose to be a leader in the first place, it was given to her by Ozpin, and she perhaps bemoans that lack of true acceptance of the role and the pressures that came with it, making it all the more rewarding then that she does once more go back to a stronger self-belief, and that she does accept her leadership side of herself because it means so much to her now. Something like that in this rare moment of RWBY finally having her heart laid bare before we go to a new renewed spirit would have been really good, for as strong as that scene still is with what we got. And thankfully though, I am glad to see the episode never goes out of the way to say that none of the character arcs with the core cast, or even Neo, is finished. They still have to press forward and face new challenges to prove this turn of fortune isn't all talk. They must put action to RWBY's willingness to face burdens the more she has to fight, now she knows she can count on others to share it. They need to make sure that it's clear Jaune still needing to search for what that man that he wants to become is, and also Neo actively choosing to focus on herself so she can indeed press on, leaves that way open for her arc. That isn't the end of her story there. All of these big personal victories don't override that core understanding that the fight for personal glory is as ongoing as the fight for humanity's victory, and this is a very welcome sight for me indeed. And in the end, this is a finale with all the bells and whistles of what makes a great volume send-off. Something rich in that rewarding feeling of a truly satisfying end for the season's narrative trials, mysteries, and emotive character developments, while still providing plenty of engaging hooks meant to draw you back in for the future, which just with the brother stuff alone is definitely the case with all the reveals that I'm sure we'll be debating about for some time. And also, here's my personal favourite shot of the episode. I just love me some explosive final blows. And I also love me some elements deserving some awards, so let's, for the last time this volume, give out my episode awards. As ever, beginning with the scene of the episode, which, no shock, is RWBY's grand return. Emotional and epic, pulse-pounding and picturesque, it's just what a way to celebrate Little Red's biggest character moment in some time. Truly, truly perfect. Character of the episode also goes to RWBY, though much love as well to the blacksmith, Jaune, and Little. It's just hard to overlook RWBY when she got the perfect welcome back episode that I wanted for her arc. And last but by no means least, the voice acting gold star is going to Lucy Christian. Lindsay, Miles, Kimlin, and Robbie were all on grand form, but I do want to use this platform for a chance to give some long overdue praise for Lucy's work this volume, who has been thoroughly top tier across the whole season. No matter how small the scenes or how big the moments, we wouldn't be as endeared to the adorable guide and hero they've now become if not for Lucy's excellent approach to sounding so sweet and so earnest. And with that, that's the end. Volume 9 is in the books, and wow, what a climax to a damn near close to perfect volume. Everything that has made this season so rightfully high praise can be found in this one episode. Plenty of heart, gripping drama, landmark moments worth cherishing for the cast and the wider narrative, some instant classic songs and score work, a fight to remember fondly for a long while, mysteries, shocks, tears and joy. It's just a potluck of perfection that not only adds up to a finale rivaling some of the series' best, it's gotta be seen as one of RWBY's finest chapters period, and the best note possible to leave us satisfied no matter how much we now dread another long wait for more RWBY goodness. Here's hoping though that the wait isn't this long again, and we do indeed get that next chapter of this already top of the peak narrative and emotional rollercoaster very soon. But until then, at least we got a great story worth picking up again for another read, if we feel like it. But what about you guys? It's time for you to share your finale thoughts that I'm dying to hear all about. So yeah, be it your thoughts on RWBY's New Dawn, how Jaune and Neo's arcs wrapped up, how you maybe enjoyed or didn't enjoy the shocks in Summer and the God Brothers' respective plot points, and for a bit of fun, I want to ask you as well, would you stay in the Ever After and Ascend, or embrace your feelings and the burdens by returning to Remnant? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're at it, hit the subscribe and bell buttons and tick the notification box to make sure you get every new video from me as they drop, and follow me on Twitter at @ThatKaitoDan for more on anything to do with RWBY, updates on the channel, and more. But again, that's the end, and I once again want to say thank you. Please keep supporting this series even in the hiatus, and much love to the RWBY. But until next time, have a good day or good night, and peace out.